Mm, no. Oh, shit. Recording. All right. Uh, this one's called Here Lies the Heart. E.C. Geet LaCour. We are torn between nostalgia for the familiar and an urge for the foreign and strange. As often as not, we are homesick most for the places we have never known. Carson McCullers. When I walked by Rue Guy-Lacour, surprised that it was so close to Notre Dame, because the way it was written about by William Burroughs and Corso, who named it, made it clear that it earned the name, the Beat Hotel. That was what was on my mind, so I wasn't ready when I felt a pang for a lost love. I'd read that the street was named that because Henry IV, the story goes, said when passing once, Ici Guy Moncur, his mistress, lived there. Writing this now, I can't remember who I may have been thinking of as a lost love or one I couldn't reach. Then it came to me it must have been Chris, who I would go on to mourn for years, with a big picture of her in China, 3 in the kitchen. I was into the first years of a 14-year stretch of being single, recovering from a relationship that had crashed spectacularly, already wanting someone, but going out of control if I was made an offer and spontaneously coming out with a story to drive them away. Chris broke through all that one day, sauntering up to me with a little entourage of her husband, China in a stroller loaded with stuff, blazing, all red hair and flashing blue eyes, casting the glamour. In an instant, any thought of coming out with a red flag story was gone for good. The wheels started turning. Just feeling that close to someone was stunning, still is. After 5 weeks of chasing around town, hustling a place to stay, she got caught passed out in a bush, having escaped from some guy plying her with drinks. Had China taken away by CPS, Child Protective Services, got her back with help from her mother, a therapist in Southampton, who was able to make a deal that she leave town. She went to Pahoa on the Big Island, and 2 months later, Gloria and I went to see how things were going. When we got there, she was waiting at the bottom of the escalator with a nice older guy who she recruited when he was just out on an errand, enchanted such that he didn't care if he was going to catch hell when he got home. And they had been waiting most of the day because she couldn't remember when our flight arrived. When the little island hopper plane came in for landing and I spied the sand and jungle, the voice said, "This is a good place to die." Yikes! Can we just land and look around? I should have known. Actually, I did know there was always a shadow appearing and disappearing in the background. I didn't want to know, but I recognized that certain note that I'd heard before from one of the departed. More phone calls, in and out of trouble, rehab in Florida, everything blue skies. And then when I first got my house and was here alone, a call from someone I didn't know saying she was gone. China was brought up by her grandparents. It seems to have had better luck. I found her online, complete with a photo of her when she was 3 on the beach in Pahoa. Uh, A picture of William Burroughs sitting on the bed in the Beat Hotel in Life magazine. It was here that Burroughs finished Naked Lunch that Ginsberg and Kerouac had typed out, working in relays, trying to make sense of scattered notes, where Ginsberg began Kaddish, nameless, one-faced, forever beyond me, beginningless, endless, Father in death. Though I am not there for this prophecy, I am unmarried, I'm himless, I'm heavenless, headless in blisshood, I would still adore. Thee, heaven after death, only one blessed in nothingness, not light or darkness, dayless eternity. Take this psalm from me, burst from my head in a day, some of my time, now given to nothing, to praise thee but death. This is the end, the redemption from wilderness, way for the wanderer. Picture of Gregory Corso in his attic room at the hotel by Allen Ginsberg. June 1965. Both those pictures were in Life magazine. Life magazine was a source of all sorts of things that were ahead of the times. Consciousness was a limited topic heading in May of 1957, pretty well covered by whether you were alert or had been hit on the head or under anesthesia. You could be passed out drunk, but I never heard anybody describe the words, he's altered his consciousness. I was 10, so there's that. I remember people talking about the Gordon Wasson article about magic mushrooms, which was published then, but it seemed far away in Mexico and not anything I was ever going to come across. 8 years later, also in May, they ran a story about the scene in London with a photo of hippies in front of Finch's Pub on Sunny Goodge Street from the Donovan song. That was the first place I headed when I got there a few weeks later. By September, everybody knew about pot, but in May, I could smoke it in the dorm, and guys would say, "Who's burning incense?" Naturally, I headed straight to Goodge Street and started asking where I could buy an ounce of weed. Nothing doing, but we have hash. Okay, hash. The scene was very furtive. The guy tucked his long hair under his cap where we went to call the connection. Everybody was smoking hash sprinkled in oversized hand-rolled tobacco cigarettes that fooled nobody and tasted awful. Who wants to smoke the biggest cigarette ever in a hurry so as not to waste the hash? We had to walk a few blocks. I was impressed by the elevator doors to the tube with no rubber bumpers and a tinny loudspeaker repeating a warning 3 times. Stand clear of the doors. And on the third door, the doors slammed shut like a trap. We went in the building and then down to the basement and to the basement below that and then to the one below that to a bare room with nothing in it but a bar so small the German shepherd guarding the place stuck out both ends. Green as I was, I recognized that we were in a former opium den by the alcoves in the wall, the perfect size for someone to lay down in. Eddie Stuff was someone who'd only bought stuff with sticks and plenty of seeds in it. I came away with 28 little blocks that lasted the whole 2 months, with a few left over that I brought back inside a mechanical doll, then obliged by starting to move when the customs opened my bag at JFK. Worried me because the plate on her belly had a tendency to fly off. It didn't. The custom guy laughed, and the fluff sweat I was in was covered by the fact that the air conditioning was broken that day. And now another street in Paris. Hearing Nun's confession is like being stoned to death with popcorn. Archbishop Fulton Sheen. Paris, 2004. Chapelle Notre-Dame de la Miraculeuse. Miraculous Medal. When I was in Paris, still on California schedule, and therefore walking around at dawn right by Au Bon Marché, I heard footsteps coming from several directions, headed somewhere nearby. I followed to see what could be open at this hour. It was still dark. The next thing I knew, I was in the Chapel of the Miraculous Medal, which I'd seen while I was researching Incorrupt Saints. I chickened out going up and looking at first. Catherine was in a glass coffin under a side altar, having a dead body, much less a mysterious dead body, present, focused the vibe to a fine point. Pin drop quiet, no sniffling and shuffling. One perhaps a bit dumbfounded. Some perhaps a little bit dumbfounded. I was. We were brought up on miracles, and this qualified something like that. The bit about defying corruption of the body stands out. At last, on the second visit, I forced myself to go up to the altar. Her eyes were open and blue. Somehow this looked soft and natural, not freakish, but definitely confronting for me, some variation on the uncanny valley feeling. When I first walked in the convent, which was right there, I was blindsided. I had to sit down. The wind knocked out of me emotionally. I didn't know if it was odd hours I was keeping or jet lag, but I reacted as if I had found a root element of my origin story, the place where the order of nuns that raised me began. I shook that surprise off as best I could and went into the chapel, crinkled around the edges. There was the chair that she saw the apparition of Mary sit in. In Cousin Liboire's account, I like that the angel who led her down to the chapel in the middle of the night appeared as a child about 5 years old. A 5 a.m. poem by Allen Ginsberg. A land that lifts me above the clouds into pure space, timeless, yea, eternal. Breath transmuted into words, transmuted back to breath. In 100, 200 years, near immortal, Sappho's 26 centuries of cadence breath, beyond time, clocks, empires, bodies, cars, chariots, rocket ships, skyscrapers, nation empires, brass walls, polished marble, Inca artwork of the mind. But where is it coming? Where does it come from? Inspiration? The muse draws breath for you. God? No, I don't believe it. You'll get entangled in heaven or hell. Guilt power that makes the heart beat wake all night, flooding mind with space, echoing through future cities, megalopolis, or Cretan village, Zeus's birth cave, the Lassithi Plains, Otsego County farmhouse, Kansas front porch. Buddha's a help, promises ordinary mind, no nirvana, coffee, alcohol, cocaine, mushrooms, marijuana, laughing gas. Nope, too heavy for this lightness. Lifts the brain into blue sky. At May dawn, when the birds start singing on East 12th Street, where does it come from? Where does it go on forever? That's it. Hmm. Why is the